It is official. Trump has appealed his New York decision. That is the one that Letitia James brought under Judge Engoron without a trial. And they charged him for exaggerating his property value. And they charged him like $350 million, ends up being $400 million. There was a question whether if Trump could raise the bond or whatever. I got to tell you, there's so many articles that lie about Trump that I can't even read them here. So I'm doing a lot of the finding the most trustworthy source, even if that source is from Democrat institutions like the Associated Press. So welcome to Doug in Exile. That's part of my job, is to bring you the news that you can trust that brings good news about Trump. Here's a list of the 3 headlines that just blew up this morning. This is from 2 hours ago. AP News, this is one of our articles. I won't read that one. So WBAL TV, Donald Trump appeals $454 million judgment in New York civil fraud case. The Daily Beast, Trump officially appeals $464 million bank fraud judgment. Okay, let's get to that AP Associated Press article. Donald Trump appeals $454 million judgment in New York civil fraud case. I'm just going to kind of scan this article and find the big reasons and news behind everything. New York, Donald Trump has appealed his $454 million New York civil fraud judgment, challenging the judge's finding that he lied about his wealth and he grew his real estate empire that launched him to stardom and the presidency. The former president's lawyers filed notices of appeal Monday, that's today, asking the state's mid-level appeals court to overturn Judge Arthur Engoron's February 16th verdict in Attorney General Letitia James's lawsuit and reverse staggering penalties that threaten to wipe out Trump's cash reserves. Trump's lawyers wrote in court papers that they're asking the appeals court to decide whether Engoron, quote, committed errors of law and or fact, and whether he abused his discretion or, quote, acted in excess of his jurisdiction. They're just going to ask this mid-level appeals court in New York going, are you sure Engoron did something legal? Now, Trump's appeal won't automatically halt enforcement of the judgment. The Republican presidential frontrunner had until March 25th to secure what's known as a stay, a legal mechanism pausing collection while he appeals. Trump would receive an automatic stay if he puts up the money, the $400 million, assets, or an appeal bond covering what he owes. Trump's lawyers could also ask the appeals court to grant a stay without obtaining a bond or with a bond for a lower amount. So there's all these different options he has. They didn't tell us which one he did. We'll get to that later in the article. Trump's lawyers did not immediately respond to a reporter's questions Monday, asked if he had posted an appeal bond or if he was in the process of securing one. So I think he's probably in the process of getting one. That is, how much will a bank loan him that $400 million for? How little does he have to actually pay? Does he have to put up? Like, can he put up $25 million and have the bank back him up for $400 million, right? How good is his money? In a statement issued through a spokesman, Trump lawyer Alina Habba addressed only the appeal itself, saying, quote, we trust that the appellate division will overturn this egregious fine and take the necessary steps to restore the public faith in New York's legal system. That's kind of generic boilerplate stuff, but I'm happy that she's saying it. Now, here's one benefit to Trump's appeal. Not so much that he gets to reverse his judgment, but listen, the appeal ensures that the legal fight over Trump's business practices will persist into the thick of the presidential primary season. See, he can campaign on this and likely beyond, as he tries to clinch the Republican presidential nomination in his quest to retake the White House. So he could become president, which helps protect him from some of this stuff. Trump maintains that he is worth several billion dollars and testified last year that he had about $400 million in cash, in addition to properties and other investments. James Letitia James, a Democrat, told ABC News that if Trump is unable to pay, she will seek to seize some of his assets. Trump doesn't need her to seize them. He could sell his assets and just hand her the money. Okay. He's good for 400 million. He could just what he has in Trump apartments in some New York property. He could sell a few of them and pay it off. Trump's lawyer, Christopher Keiss, said after the verdict that the former president was confident the appeals court, quote, will ultimately correct the innumerable and catastrophic errors made by a trial court untethered to the law or to reality, unquote. If the decision stands, Habas said, quote, it will serve as a signal to every single American that New York is no longer open for business, unquote. That is what's at stake with this particular payment, is New York's reputation in the entire, not just our country, but the entire world. New York will be seen as a politicized, political state. If you're in the wrong party and you own a business in New York, you better watch out if you're not paying off Engoron and Letitia James, because they're coming for you. If Trump were to pay the penalty at this stage, instead of obtaining a stay, the money would be held in a court escrow account while the appeal plays out, says the Associated Press. If the court overturns the verdict, the money would be returned to Trump. So even if he puts the money up and he gets his appeal, the money can still come back to him. The appellate division could either uphold Engoron's verdict, reduce or modify the penalty, or overturn the decision entirely. If Trump is unsuccessful at the appellate division, he can ask the state's highest court, because he's in the mid-level court right now, the Court of Appeals, to consider taking the case. Then I found this little detail over at The Hill on their coverage of the same story. The judge also expanded the authority of an independent monitor to oversee the Trump organization's finances and imposed fines against Trump's sons and top company executives. So the city of New York also installed a overseer into Trump's company to make sure it's compliant. So a snitch, a weirdo, a rat, a government operative. So I'll keep you guys posted on this one. I do hope it gets overturned on appeal. I also hope it just gets delayed until Trump gets elected as president, because really, I think New York's in trouble, but the whole country's in trouble if Trump doesn't become president. That's the big picture of this whole thing. Let me know in the comments below, will New York survive if this judgment stands, number one, and will America survive if Biden wins another presidency? I'm Doug in Exile. No despair.